Speaker lago. Am I heard? Hello.
Yeah, sir. You are audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Audible.
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Very good morning to all of you.
Perfect.
Very, very good morning to all
Very,
of
very
you.
good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Very
sir.
good
Good
morning,
morning.
sir.
Good morning, sir.
और धारगढ़कर साहब कैसा है? धारगढ़कर साहब धारगढ़कर साहब मेरा आवाज आता है? हाँ, कैसे हैं धारगढ़कर साहब? हेलो
आता क्या था?
धारगढ़कर साहब आवाज आता है?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, sir. Sir, आपका आवाज आ रहा है सर.
अच्छा
बोलना का दिस
चलो तो I am welcoming everybody here and so happy that all of you joined today. And Mr. Dharkar is a very, very experienced specialist. Many bridges, flyovers, and many such structures which are collapsing. And we have worked together on finding out the solution to rehabilitate the bridges, and he has tremendous experience which he'll be sharing with you. And the principle will be applying to other structures also, because it is not only bridges, it would be buildings, it would be metro networks and things like that. So I hand it over to Mr. Dhalgalkar, and he is going to be speaking to all of you. Please feel free to raise any questions that you may have, and then continue telling your other friends also. We will get this particular session recorded and hosted on ECI's website so that those who could not join, they can also basically get the benefit of it. Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Let's see. योगराज योगराज जी हाँ चालू करना है क्या? अच्छा अच्छा, वो बताया नहीं ना किसने. नहीं, मैंने कुछ नहीं सुना. नहीं नहीं, जरा आप टेस्टिंग कर ले. टेस्ट. ओके ओके ओके, ठीक है. शेयर काय करायचं स्क्रीन. So, good morning to you. Can you all hear me? Can someone tell me whether they can see me and hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, good morning to you. This is Umesh Dargakar, and I'll be talking to you about the redevelopment. In the field of redevelopment, as a project management consultants, what are the opportunities which have just emerged for civil engineers?
Sir,
Now, during this
your voice is
talk, if
slightly
there is
low.
any problem about audio, please let me know immediately so that we can get it rectified. So, as you can see here, we'll be talking about three parts. We are talking about three parts. First is the concept of redevelopment. The second part is the project management consultancy, as we civil engineers know it and how it differs for a redevelopment project. And what are the opportunities for civil engineers in this, I will say, newly discovered field. Okay. Project management consultancy is not new, but the PMC as applied to redevelopment projects is definitely something which is quite different from the PMC which we understand for normal construction projects. And towards as the presentation goes and towards the end, I know this webinar is being attended by civil engineers from different cities. I can see some of them here. I also know I can also see some known faces. So people are coming from different places, and redevelopment is already happening in some of these cities, and redevelopment is going to happen in the other cities as well. So towards the end of this presentation, I'll just explain to you how I, that is Umesh Dargakar, as someone who's already practicing in this field, and my company, Technosis, where we are doing a lot of redevelopment projects in Mumbai, how we can help you do projects in your own city using the standards and systems which we have developed. So with that little bit of introduction, let me make a beginning to the core part of the subject. First of all, the need for redevelopment comes from the need for urban renewal. So we are talking about cities here, and mainly we are talking about mega cities, big cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore, Chennai, and of course other cities which are also, I will say, tier one cities, which are slowly going to need the concept of urban renewal for their future growth. Without urban renewal, future growth of these cities will not be possible. So let's understand this concept. Old and congested megacities. I just mentioned about Mumbai, okay, and other cities in which a lot of buildings were constructed uh, decades ago. So today we have a stock of so many buildings, thousands of buildings in this building which have already been constructed. So we call it a large built environment, which is for the purpose of housing and also for the purpose of, I'll say, commercial purpose. So which means office buildings, bank buildings. But main core of all these buildings is consisting of the housing buildings. Now, what has happened is that over the so many decades of the buildings, the formation of the buildings, a lot of those buildings which were constructed so many decades ago, like say, I know there are some buildings in Mumbai which were constructed about 100 years ago. Maybe not 100, maybe 60, maybe 40. But what is now being noticed is that many of these buildings have become dilapidated. Okay. And they were constructed as per the needs of the time when they were constructed. And today we are living in a completely different environment. Our needs are different. Our aspirations are different. Our connectivities with other cities and with the world, they are different. Okay. Moreover, the buildings which we have been living here, let's say I'm talking about Mumbai, there are lots of dilapidated buildings. The amenities in these buildings are also, I will say, poor because they were constructed with the need, with the requirements of amenities at that point of time. I'll give you an example. Even about 30 years ago, the buildings in Mumbai were constructed in such a way that, for example, a building with ground plus four upper floors there was no need for providing an elevator or lift. Why? Because the development control regulations did not mandate that kind of a thing. So buildings which were constructed about 30, 40 years ago, and the way we look at them today the same people who purchase flats in those buildings, they will find that it's very difficult to climb even one floor. Forget about climbing four floors. So the absence of an elevator, is something which today we cannot even think of, even for the smallest or say shortest building. Then comes the need for car parks. About 40 years ago, there were very few cars, and buying a car was considered to be a luxury. Not anymore. There are thousands of cars. In fact, in the Mumbai, there are lakhs of cars. So when there are cars, we need proper parking spaces. Then we have new ideas about recreation, okay, about grounds, about gardens, and of course the new requirements about work from home kind of situation. Then the fiber optics infrastructure. There are so many things which were completely absent about 4 decades ago. As a result of this, people who are staying, in the buildings which were constructed at that point of time, their quality of life today is not what they expect it to be. Now, what would be the solution? But still, a city like Mumbai is growing and will continue to grow. So will the other cities like say Delhi, Kolkata, because there's a lot of need for growth. But need should also be supported by the infrastructure, which means that more houses need to be constructed. The old houses need to be, I will say, we want modern houses, but where can we construct them? If you find in major cities, the open plots are just not there to be seen. Every plot, there is a building which is constructed. You take the case of Mumbai, where I'm staying. I think about, from the heart of the city, within a radius of 20 to 30 kilometers, it's very difficult to find an open plot. So how do we accommodate the new houses? Also, I am saying, when I say 20 to 30 kilometers, I'm talking about suburbs also. So there are practically no open plots even in suburbs of Mumbai. And I'm sure in the other cities also the case will be similar. So where do we construct the new houses? Where do we construct the new commercial buildings? And how do we help the cities grow? I'm talking about not just about mega cities, but other cities as well. So the growth and quality of life in a building depends on its urban renewal. So what we need to do is that we need to renew our urban environment. So just how do we do that? Now, for one, what has happened is that the government is doing its own bit. For example, the development control regulations, which have to be followed when you construct a new building, they are evolving. So government today is modifying the development control regulations uh, in such a way that you get more FSI and you can construct more built up area on the same plot which are existing. But buildings are already existing there. So how do we get to do that? So even if the government has modified the DC regulations, development control regulations, actually implementing those regulations on the same plots is a challenge which has to be handled by engineers like you and me. So now let me see. Let me show you how this problem, which is felt in every city, has been successfully solved in the city of Mumbai over a period of 2 decades, not just now. So this need was felt in Mumbai almost 2 decades ago. Now, and the reason being why it was felt most in Mumbai, because Mumbai has been really a very congested city. And being a commercial capital of India with a population of about 20 millions, it's very difficult to find a place to stay here. And very typically, just a minute, close this. Yeah. Very typically, the housing in Mumbai consists of housing in cooperative housing societies. Like most of us, we stay in big and small cooperative housing societies, which have their own set of bylaws. Like, say, for example, a cooperative housing society, or say, I'll simply call it a society henceforth, a society which is having, say, 100 members on a plot of something like, say, about 3,000 square meter. Okay. Or I'll say, okay, 100 members, let's say, let me talk about a 5,000 square meter plot. So so those 100 members, they form a cooperative housing society and governed by their own internal bylaws. Now, when they decide to develop their plot again, or say redevelop their plot again, where they are staying or they are already staying, what has to be understood is that this plot is commonly owned by the entire society. It's not like, a plot which is owned by a single person and he can go to um, mm, go for redevelopment, use the development control regulations, the benefits coming out of that, and construct his own house or something. Not like that. So this makes the project more complex and I will say a little different from the normal technicalities we civil engineers come across when we talk about our construction projects. When we talk about, we talk about structural design, we talk about construction, quality control, things like that. What I'm talking about is something much, much, much before that. So this housing model is something which is very common. I am sure that such housing model must also be existing in other cities where the plots are commonly owned by families. Now, coming to again the case of Mumbai, we got about 35,000 cooperative housing societies here, and 20,000 approximately are 30 years old or older. Now, why I'm talking about 30 years? Because it's been felt in Mumbai that any building which is older than 30 years today, is in need of some kind of major repair rehabilitation. And the rules and regulations have been specially formed. I do not know, but people who are from Maharashtra will know about the requirement of structural audit, which becomes mandatory for buildings which are 30 years and older. So there are 20,000 cooperative housing societies, which will sooner or later need redevelopment. Now see the volume. See the volume of, I'll say, business or professional expertise, the need for professional expertise which is required in redevelopment. Okay. Now, what are the problems which are trying to solve through redevelopment? First, safety. Why? Because the buildings which are existing may not be safe, they may be dilapidated, and we want to avoid the risk to human habitation. Then better amenities, and we want to avoid the recurring expenses for repair and maintenance to maintain the old building just like that year after year. At least want to have a kind of holiday from that for a few decades when we put up a new building. Now, the kind of redevelopment what we are talking, urban renewal we are talking about for the city of Mumbai and other cities is what we call as redevelopment. So when there was a plot which was an open plot, okay, when there was a building constructed on that plot, say maybe 4 decades ago, that was called the building itself, was a result of the development of the plot. Otherwise, the plot was just a plot. When the building came upon the plot, it became a development project. Okay. Now, when the same building is to be demolished and we need to construct a new building on that, that's what we call as redevelopment. Now, as I said, there are different new development control regulations which are being formulated for the growth of the cities. Correct. So in Mumbai or we have what we call as DCPR 2034, which came about in about 2014. Okay. So what is DCPR? Now, normally prior to that, we used to call it DCR, Development Control Regulation. Now there is a P here for promotion. So now it is not DCR anymore. It is DCPR, which means Development Control and Promotion Regulation, which itself tells you that the government intends to promote further development in the city. And We just talked about, the housing societies owning the plot of land. Now, those 100 members of the housing societies, they have to come together and they have to come together as a society. They have to decide to take the project for redevelopment, which is not a small thing. It has to be a project of the family of families, that means 100 families. Now, each person has his own different nature. Now, how to bring those people together in a transparent manner and motivate them to do redevelopment project. So for that purpose, a few guidelines emerged. They are called 79A guidelines, which are, what they do is that they help these societies take the first to do redevelopment through a transparent manner, and these 79A guidelines facilitate the consensual decisions by the members so that they come together to make the project as their own project. So this is a model which has evolved in Mumbai, and today lots of projects are happening. There are hundreds of buildings which have been successfully redeveloped. We as PMC, we ourselves have completed almost 10 big projects of redevelopment. And currently thousands of projects are there at the various stages of redevelopment. So this is a model which has been successfully tested in our city, which is Mumbai. And this is a model which actually can become a role model for other cities wherein the same course of action and the same methodology and the same roadmap can be followed. So now, again, looking at the redevelopment from the definition perspective, it means demolishing an old building and constructing a new building in the same plot, but this time by utilizing its current FSI. Okay, so what does this really mean? So suppose we have a plot of say 5,000 square meter. Earlier, the FSI was FSI is actually the ratio of how much you can construct, how much built up area you can construct on a plot divided by the plot area itself. So if you have an FSI of 2, what it means is that if your plot is 5,000 square meter, you can construct 5,000 into 2, that is to 10,000 square meters of built up area on that. Okay. Now, earlier when the buildings were constructed about a few decades ago, most of the times the FSI in Mumbai at least was 1. What it means is that if the plot is 5,000 square meter, only 5,000 square meters of built up area was constructed on that plot. Whereas today's DCPR will allow much higher FSI. For example, let's say we have an FSI of 3.24, which is available in the city of Mumbai when your plot is situated on a road which is 18-meter wide or even wider. Now 3.24 is the current FSI for that plot. Earlier they had consumed 1. So now they get to construct 2.24 FSI more, which means that more flats can be constructed on the same plot after demolishing the building. Now, this 2.24 FSI, when you construct more flats, what happens is that this kind of redevelopment project, when you want to put up a redevelopment project, there are different costs which are involved. Construction cost is one part which all of us we know, but there are costs of premium, cost of TDR, cost of additional FSI, cost of stamp duty, cost of when you will be pulling down the building, then you will have to provide for the rental accommodation for those people who are already staying there. So there is a rental cost. There is an interest cost. There are almost 30 different costs. Cost of getting approvals from the statutory authority. So certain amount of money has to go to meet these costs. And if you are going to develop the building through a developer, or if you are going to redevelop the plot through a developer, naturally the developer who brings in his money, his expertise, his experience, etc., he will also expect certain profit. So to provide for that cost and the profit, a certain, whatever, so this additional FSI, a part of that, okay, is used to construct flats which can be sold in open market to fund those costs and the developer's profit, and the other remaining FSI. Okay, out of this 3.24 minus 1, say maybe 2.4. So whatever is gone for the developer or for bearing the cost and profit, what remains comes back to the society members, those 100 members, in form of larger. Some area they will also get some additional area, plus their rent will be paid for, plus they can expect some monetary compensation also. So this is how it becomes a win-win for the developer and the society which is owned the society and the developer today. For this project, they become, I will say, I will not say exactly a partners, but yes, partners in spirit for doing this project. Society brings in their plot, they are the owner of the plot, and developer brings in the other types of resources. Now, let us understand what kind of project management is required for redevelopment project. Okay. Now, see, we are all aware about construction project management. What is a construction? Some of us must be working as, some of you must be working as construction project management professional. Okay. So PMC for construction project management. What do you do there? First and foremost, you work for the project owner, which means if it's a real estate project, then you work for the developer. If it's a corporate project, then you work for that bank or for the insurance company or for whichever that corporate is. So you are working for a project owner. And what your responsibilities are. So your functions cover the supervision and management of construction activities. Mind you, I'm talking about construction only. So what happens on the construction side? How when the building comes up, the quality monitoring, the progress monitoring, and of course the cost, the billing. So you may, what you will have is that you may have a staff of say 8 to 10 people at the site, someone who's doing the quality checks, someone is doing the planning, some people are, there are billing engineers, some are supervisors, whatever. But what you do is that you are actively involved in the construction activity and you manage that for the project owner. This is how the construction project management happens. And all of us, we are very familiar with this kind of model. Okay. But this is, restricted to construction. What about uh, um, the project in its previous years or months, whatever? For example, before the project went to construction, it was planned by someone, it was engineered by someone, and then the approvals came. A construction PMC doesn't have to look at that. He only handles the construction project management. Whereas a project manager, a project management consultant, okay, who is at a higher level, can still work for the same project owner, or mainly in this case, say, how do corporate projects happen? They hire a PMC not only for construction, but even for, they say they want to construct a bank building, a corporate building, an office building, or say whatever, they have a requirement. So what they do is that they become the project owner, and what they do is that they hire a project management consultant who helps them get the right people, coordinate with them for planning as well as engineering, and eventually getting the project approved from the statutory authorities. He may not actually work with it, but he does all the coordination and gets the project planned, engineered, and approved by appointing different consultants on behalf of the project owner. Okay, so this is something which is not there in the construction project management. But then maybe he can appoint another construction project management, or say construction PMC, or he may take that work on himself and he may continue to be the construction PMC. So what we see here is that there is something about planning, engineering, and approvals which happens before the construction project management, or say before the project goes to construction. Okay. Now wait a minute. This redevelopment project actually is even more different, especially when we talk about redevelopment of plots which are owned by cooperative housing society. Here, what happens is that the PMC, the PMC for redevelopment project, okay, comes in to do some things which actually happen even before planning, engineering, and approvals. Why? Because the project has to take shape at the society first, and then it has to go to the next stage of developer. So even before the developer comes into picture, okay, a lot of things have to happen at the society level itself. Okay, and that is one more aspect to about project management, uh, which is more than construction project management, or which is also more than the normal project management which you do for corporate projects. This is something which I will call as formulation of the project and contract documentation of the project. So the contract being the contract or say development agreement which happens between the society, which is the plot owner, with the developer. So they here the project manager or say redevelopment PMC works for not for the project owner, because the project owner is the developer. The redevelopment PMC works for the plot owner, and he is appointed right in the beginning of the project, and he continues to work till the end of the project, till the people who have vacated the building, they come back to their new building. Till that time, redevelopment PMC continues to work. Okay. Now, what I want to stress here is this, that unlike construction project management, wherein, as I said, you may have some professionals there, like say some supervisors, building engineer, quality engineer, etc. Normally, typically, since a redevelopment PMC is appointed by the society, okay, what is typically done is that developer brings in his PMC for the construction project management, because that PMC will work for the developer as his project owner. However, the society's PMCs continues to work through the construction project to monitor the project. So there's a difference. So there's a difference when it comes to redevelopment PMC. What we do here is that we do the coordination and everything. We do the PMC work, okay, right from the beginning. When we are appointed by the society, we take the project to the formulation stage, to the contract documentation stage, then through the approval stage, etc. And when it comes to construction, okay, the construction activities are monitored, not managed by the redevelopment PMC. So that is a bit of a difference between, or say, among these three PMC assignments. Now, who are the stakeholders? Let's understand how the journey takes place for redevelopment PMC and who are the stakeholders. The main stakeholders are the owner or cooperative housing society. I'm now talking about the housing projects because there are thousands of them. Okay, so the owner of cooperative housing society or the society, that is the main stakeholder. The project originates with them, with the society. Now, that society is represented by the managing committee of which is selected by those 100 members. I'm taking the same example of the same 100 members with say 5,000 square meter plot area. And then they appoint a project management consultant or PMC. Now, they may also appoint the additional consultant, but typically the managing committee and the PMC, which is appointed by those 100 members, together become one stakeholder, wherein the PMC is appointed by the society, okay, or the plot owner. Now, then later on, a developer comes at an advanced stage of the project. We'll see at what stage he comes. Now, he is given the comprehensive responsibility of the project. So he has to get in his people. He has to get in finance, expertise, experience, and manage the entire project. Okay. And get those buildings constructed at his risk, cost, and effort, and hand it back to the existing members. Of course, when he hands it back to the existing members, there are definitely some more members which are going to come to whom the developer has sold the surplus flats. So if we had the existing buildings, in the existing building we had say 100 members, maybe now we'll have 180 members or maybe 220 members depending on the I will say techno-commercial nature of the project. Now what does the developer do? Now he has to do everything that is required to do the project. And PMC will monitor what he's doing. That's how the role of the PMC is there in the redevelopment project. So what he has his in-house teams, which are for BD means business development, legal, planning team, liaison team, in-house as a developer. Okay. Then he hires external consultants such as solicitors, then architects, planning architects, liaison architects, structural consultants, geotechnical consultants, MEP consultants, etc., to formulate the project in a technical manner and legal manner. Then he has the construction team, and finally he has a contractor. So everything that is required to get the project planned, approved, constructed, and delivered back to the society, the responsibility is for the developer. So these are the two main stakeholders. And now let's understand how this journey goes. Typically, a redevelopment project happens in 5 different phases, and 5 phases are sequential, one after the other. Right? The first phase it happens at the society. It's called inception. Like people come together and decide that let's think about redevelopment. Let's make a movement in that direction. So that's called inception. And then, since nobody has the proper experience or expertise in redevelopment to guide them, naturally they select a project management consultant like us, like you, whoever wishes to be a PMC in redevelopment. So such a PMC is selected. Okay. Now what you see here in green is something which is, see, the colors here in this slide will tell you, are similar to the colors in the previous slides. What you see in red here is what is about the construction project management. What you see in blue is for corporate project management where there is no society. And what you see in green color is that additional or say previous preparation which happens at the society level for the redevelopment project. So when the PMC comes on board, okay, he undertakes a techno-commercial study which is called feasibility study to understand how the project can go further. Okay, how much is the commercial potential in that? What are the challenges which can be expected? So many. Let's not go into the technicalities. So for such technicality, there are different webinars which I'll mention to you later. So what you see here, if you see this here down below the legend, S standing for society, P for PMC, L for legal advisor, and D for developer. What you see here is that in the initial phase of say something like 4 months, 2 plus 2, 2 for inception and 2 for feasibility report, 2 months. So who is working there? The society and the PMC. S, that is society, and P, that is PMC. Then comes the stage of tendering. Now remember, this tender is not for construction project. This tender is for redevelopment project. So there's a lot of difference between this kind of tender and the tender which we have for construction project. In this tender, we will have to specify, this tender is basically designed for selecting a developer and getting the project done through him. Selecting a developer and getting the project done through him. So all those things which are required to properly select a developer, the selection process, etc., and those terms under which he will be appointed to do the project, to do the redevelopment, etc., everything has to come into this. There is no cost here. Okay. For example, there is no item rate contract, item rate tender, nothing like that. This is basically a tender for selecting a developer. So this phase happens for something like, say, 8 months. That is a tender, making a tender and floating a tender can take about 3 months, and selection process, selecting a developer can take 5 months. So here also the society is working with the help of the PMC. So you can see here, phase 1 and phase 2 together make 1 year. This is typical. Okay. It may not actually happen like this, but if you plan it well, it can happen. Both these, you can wrap up both these phases in 1 year. Now, what has happened is that the developer has got selected, but still nothing has happened. So now you know what to do with the developer. Okay, meaning what? You have to have proper agreement with him. You have to bind him legally through a development agreement, which we call as pre-construction phase. So developer has come on board, but construction is still to start because we still don't know how the building will look like, etc. So before that, a development has to be signed between the developer and the society. Okay. Once that is done, then the developer's architect will prepare the plans. Remember, the role of redevelopment PMC is to monitor, not to prepare plans. So whichever the plans the developer's architect will prepare, the PMC, society's PMC will have to monitor them from time to time and the content of that. So once the plans are done, okay, then the developer is expected to put up the plans for statutory approvals, and then the approvals come. So this is, a phase which we call pre-construction. What happens here is the actual formulation of the project to understand as to what will be constructed on the plot eventually. So almost one more year here, 11 months to 12 months. So here you see there is society, there is a legal advisor to draft the development agreement. Then P, that is of course PMC and developer. Now after this, so 2 years have passed, and then the existing members will vacate the existing building, because the plans have been approved and everything is actually finalized on paper, and it needs to be constructed on the site. So the people vacate and they stay in the rental accommodation, and the construction happens. And after the building has been constructed, which can take about 4 years, okay, 3 to 4 years. And after the construction happens, then they come back to their new flats, and that phase is called repossession. So typically you can say that at redevelopment PMC, the project is something like 5 years. So that is the kind of time duration which you are talking about, the kind of time commitment from a redevelopment PMC. But again, at a stage which is at a nature of monitoring the project. Because if a redevelopment PMC tries to do everything that a construction PMC is going to do or has been doing, then the cost will be so big that the society will not be afford to. So that cost is absorbed in the developer's cost, and redevelopment PMC's roles and responsibilities are limited to monitoring the project and monitoring the process of the project. Now, what are the decisive milestones in the redevelopment project? First is resolution for redevelopment, which happens at the society. Those 100 members come together and they decide, yes, we want to do a redevelopment project. Then selection of a PMC. Then tendering and analysis of bids, which the PMC has to do, tendering to find a developer. And then a developer is selected. Then execution of development agreement. approval of plans. So planning has been done. Okay. And remember, plans and everything has to be subject to the society's approval, because society is the owner of the land. That's how the model works. And then the stage of vacating comes when existing buildings are vacated. And then in construction, we typically think of two. Of course, there are many milestones, but when I said decisive milestones, there are 2 milestones which I can think of. One is complete construction of RCC, meaning if it's a 40-story building, then I'm talking about all the slabs of the 40-story building, um, completion of that many slabs. Because when that many slabs are done, that means the complete that FSI, what the way the project was approved has been constructed. And then the other finishes and services they continue. And the stage comes when all works are completed and occupancy certification. Okay, when the occupancy certificate is received and your building is regularized and legalized, and then you come back to your new building. So these are the decisive milestones. Now let's see what services civil engineers can provide in such an environment. First, let's see what kind of skills and knowledge required for doing redevelopment PMC. Of course, you are engineers, so you know a lot about construction. Some of you know something about planning also, but there is a lot to know even before the project go to that stage, which we have just seen. So first, we need to have a complete understanding of the entire development process, and this cannot come without some experience. No amount of, you might have done, say, I will say 20 projects as uh, of construction project management. But still, that will not give you an idea of an end-to-end development project. So that is something which, of course, it's not difficult. I'm not saying that you cannot learn that. But all I'm saying is that there are certain skills which in fact, you know the bulk of the thing. That is the construction. What you need to now do is that to add something to that before this in the monitoring level, and before that at the formation level. Okay, these are the things which you will need to learn, and the only way to learn that is by experience. So complete understanding of a development process, then understanding of 79A guidelines. I just mentioned a little while ago about 79A guidelines which have been drawn out by the government to facilitate internal decision making and transparency in cooperative housing societies. So your redevelopment project starts there, and that is where since it is at the most formative stage there, you have to understand those guidelines. Again, they are not difficult, they can be learned, but this is required as you are preparing for the construction, you are preparing for the project to happen. All these things go in form of preparation. Then you have to understand about tendering and bid evaluation, because this tender is different. This tender, as I said, is for selection of a developer. And how the bids have to be evaluated when you select a developer, how to shortlist a developer, how to evaluate the developer. Those are the skills which one needs to have. Then you have to have an understanding of the development control regulation and statutory approval process. You need not know everything about the regulations. And you also need not get the approvals, because that's what the developer's architect is going to get. But you need to understand the process, because you are going to monitor that. And you need to understand certain important parts of the development control regulation, not everything about it. Then time management is something, we always, it's a cliche. Everyone says time is the essence of the contract. Okay. Sometimes it's written in all the documents. I don't know how many projects it is actually really followed. But here I will not say time is the essence, but time is very crucial. Time is the only thing that is most challenging in a redevelopment project. Absolutely. If you hold on to time, okay, and if your developer holds on to his time, then your project is successful. If your time slips, then newer and newer problems will keep on coming to you. So when I say time management for a redeveloped PMC, what it really means is scheduling and tracking. Okay, the decisions have to come, and scheduling and tracking what you see here is the redevelopment process. So that's why you should know have the complete understanding of the redevelopment process. Then the engineering aspects. of structural geotech and construction, I am sure most of you must be having some knowledge or maybe a lot of knowledge about these aspects. Then construction project monitoring, wherein quality progress time, which you have to monitor, right? You have to monitor. You know who has to make the baseline project schedule in a redevelopment project? The developer has to make. He has to make a developer say baseline construction schedule by identifying maybe 1,000 different activities in the construction sequence. Okay, and how he will complete that in say whatever time, 3 years, 4 years, whatever has been given to you. Now, what a redevelopment PMC should do is that use that which is a commitment made by the developer, use that to monitor the project. Then the tender has certain specification, the development agreement has certain technical specification, work specifications, abilities. Use that to monitor the quality of the project. Now, unlike uh, the billing aspect, which is very important in a construction PMC, the same cost factor is not so much important in a redevelopment project. So you don't need a billing engineer there. You only need on the side, from your side, maybe just one engineer who monitors the progress and quality of what's happening at the site with reference to the development agreement, the tender document, those specifications, and the baseline projection. So on the site, there will be a whole team of the contractor and the developer who will be doing their job. Our PMC, the redevelopment PMC, will be monitoring those activities. And of course, project coordination and report and document, a lot of, yeah. There is one skill which is very difficult to find these days, is that of documentation and reporting. Very difficult to find. And we need a lot of that in redevelopment project. We need tons of documentation. Okay. So these are the skills and knowledge which are required for a PMC. As I said, those things which are shown in green are perhaps you have some experience, but those which are, I mean, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 which are there, before the project which goes for construction is something which they are those things which you need to learn. And as I said, the first line is extremely important, which says that complete understanding of the redevelopment process. Now, of course, and overall contract management, yes, the last point, which also happens. Yeah, okay, a contract management to the extent of a construction project does happen in a construction PMC. But what I'm talking about contract management here is overall contract management. That means from the time when you sign a development, the society signs a development agreement with the developer. From that time, okay, what are the obligations of the developer from that time onward, right up to the time when the building is completed and the people come back, the earlier people come back to stay in their new building. This entire contract management, which is, of course, the contract management which is there in construction, plus something more. Okay, so these are the skills which are required. Now let's see the challenges in redevelopment. As I say, typically we feel, a project has been formulated, decided now, all the drawings have come and we only need to construct them. That's the scene which we are familiar with in construction PMC. Redevelopment project, as I said, has to start. It takes birth at the society, then it grows and it grows. First it is an infant, then it becomes, first it's an infant, then it becomes a baby, then it becomes a toddler. So that's how it grows. Okay. So there are lots of challenges in this growth. First and foremost, it's a collective project of one large family. So decision making is a big challenge. Which is that one large family? I am talking about those 100 families which have to come together to decide that the project is going to happen in this manner. Then we all know that most of the cooperative housing societies, internally working is not organized. Okay, they meet only for certain purposes, just to kind of um, for the maintenance purpose. Whereas when a redevelopment project starts, they have to come together and really get involved in the project. And that is something which is difficult to digest, something which they have not done. This is something which is first time for them. You don't see, since this is just the beginning of the redevelopment phase, there are, you will hardly find anyone who will say, in fact, so far I have not found anyone who has said that I have seen a redevelopment project, because for everyone it's the first time. It's an uncharted territory. We have never been there before. We have not seen it. This is the first time we are going to see it. Now, there is a certain amount of apprehension, certain fears about what can go wrong. And believe me, a lot of things can go wrong. This redevelopment is a very challenging project. It's a, from a human perspective, not from a technical perspective, it's a very challenging and unstable project. It's a very challenging project. So in that context, the decisions have to be taken by majority consensus in a society, and that makes it very challenging. Then since it's a 5-year-old project, anything can go wrong in those 5 years. It's a very long project. And yeah, we just saw that even if we have, from the time when the project is born till the time when you actually vacate the building, you've been in the project for at least 2 years. So in these 2 years also, so many things change. So when something is formulated, it is formulated through a lot of variable parameters. So that's exactly what happens in the redevelopment project. So there is a risk and uncertainties. So a redevelopment project is full of risks and uncertainties. Now, what are typically, especially being a techno-commercial project, what are the risks and uncertainties? Changing policies. Policies meaning development control regulations, government policies related to pollution, policies related to water, shortage, so many things, transport, so many policies. So debris management, so many policies. So policies can change, and whenever a policy change, since your project is in a formation stage, it can be affected by those policies. Market conditions. Again, as I said, this is a techno-commercial project. So that commercial part, techno-commercial, that commercial part is hugely depends on the market condition. It all depends on whether people are buying flats, whether there is a sale. Because if people are not buying flats, then the projects won't happen. Then there's a risk and uncertainty about the developer himself. Why? Because if a society has not selected a developer carefully, suppose the developer has made some unreasonable promises to the society and developer, and the society has been charmed by that and selected a wrong developer, then the developer himself becomes a big risk and big uncertainty, because you have already selected it. And of course, some uncooperating members, non-cooperating members in the entire society. There may be people who are driven by ego, driven by their own perceptions, or driven even by their personal interests or vested interests, which are found sometimes in projects. So such members can also create an environment of uncertainty. So a job of PMC is to instill confidence in that society, hold on to the process of redevelopment, follow that course, and take the project and lead the society to a successful project. And that is not easy, because most of it initially is not technical. If there's something technical, we have a technical answer. Technical question, the technical answer. But if something which is not technical, which is having human perceptions, well, the solutions can be found out, but they are not so straightforward. Now, again, redevelopment is if we have to see that as a compulsion for old buildings. For those buildings which are dilapidated, they don't have an option except for redevelopment. In Mumbai, we have something which is called C1 category building, which we can say, sort of, that building is to be pulled down. There is no option. They don't have an option. So when such buildings have to become, such building, the only option is redevelopment. But remember, when we say there are a lot of risks and uncertainties, there is no doubt that there are great benefits also from redevelopment. Because otherwise, the owners of the plot, which are staying in small flat, this is, I would say, a kind of magic formula to make their existing flats bigger without spending a penny. Of course, if you manage the project well, though they don't have to spend any money, everything is spent, all the costs are borne by the developer, and they get bigger flats and some money which is generally called as corpus and everything. So much can be. In fact, I would say it is something. It's the easiest way. Easiest in the sense, it appears to be easiest. It's the easiest way to make your flat bigger without spending any money. However, you have to be extremely careful about the other aspects and make sure that the project doesn't fail. Why? Because if the project fails, then it can cause great anguish and hardship and setback to the people who have started the project. And there have been a lot of examples in Mumbai like that. So when I say a model, Mumbai has seen a lot of successful projects. I must also add that Mumbai has also seen some unsuccessful projects also, and that is through the challenges the project has in Mumbai has matured. So biggest challenge here in a project, if you want to make a successful project, the biggest challenge is the lack of structural roadmap, guidelines, standards, and systems. We know about construction, but we don't know, we don't have the guidelines and roadmaps and standards for what has to happen before that. So here, let me introduce, as I said right in the beginning of this webinar, that you as professionals, civil engineering professionals, in your own city, wherever you are, whenever there is a redevelopment project, you should take lead as a project management consultant and be a part of, be a redevelopment PMs. But I also said that you need to have that many skills. And the first line in that slide said that you need to understand the redevelopment process thoroughly. Now, where do you get it? Where do you get it? So here we can be of help to you. What we did is that in say December 2024, prior to that, we've been practicing as PNC for redevelopment since last 2 decades in Mumbai. And through our projects, learning as a surgeon learns from his surgeries, we have also learned a lot from our projects. And we have developed a lot of standard systems and roadmaps. So today, over the last 2 decades, what we have done is that we have developed our own systems. We have our own standards, our own roadmap, wherein we have broken the redevelopment system into small actionable points. And my office runs on those systems. So any new redevelopment project which we take, we use those systems. And what we did in I would say Christmas 2024 is that we decided to make all our roadmaps, standards, and systems public. Meaning so that anyone who wants can use them freely and to his advantage without making any payment by going to a website which we call at www.redevelopment.info. The extension itself will tell you .info means informative website. What we have put in here is an info system, or redevelopment info system. Now this is one website where you will find so many standards, all those roadmaps, everything. So when you think that yes, I have knowledge about construction, but I don't have knowledge about what happens before that. Well, you can get all that from this website. So let me just show you. This website can work as a comprehensive resource for you. And whatever we understood about this redevelopment project in the last few minutes has been explained in great detail. I would say as much detail as we could possibly put there. So these resources are free, open, public, and you are invited to use them. Let me show you what they are. You know, in the website, or say on the website. Okay, these are the phases which we just talked about. The phase 1 is inception and feasibility. Phase 2 is tendering and development selection. Phase 3 is pre-construction. Phase 4 is construction, and phase 5 is repossession. All these 5 phases together with their, now each phase can also have different stages. For example, there are three phases here which have got two stages, whereas there are two uh, two phases which have got internally four stages. Stages meaning parts of a phase. So there are 14 stages. Okay, there are 5 phases and 14 stages. So each phase is further divided into stages, and all 14 stages are given on that website, and I will give a small demo of that website. And these stages are also supported by webinar series, which is also free. So how does the website work? What do you get on the website? First, you get a roadmap, which is a step-by-step process for redevelopment. Now, for each step, okay, each actionable step, you will get as to what is to be done, what action is to be taken, then who is to take that, which stakeholder has to take that action, and what actually happens in the action as an explanatory note. So each step is also defined in terms of what it's supposed to do, who is supposed to do it, and how we are supposed to do it. Now, in addition to that, for each step, we are also given, there are certain steps. We have identified certain qualifiers for each step. For example, there may be one step, for example, completion of RCC work. Itself is a milestone. So if there is out of, say, there may be, I think, something close to 300 steps, Now, some of the steps may be milestones because they are major steps. So we have identified them so that you can use them for tracking the project. Some of the stages need that you need to create certain record or documentation. That also has been mentioned there. What kind of documentation is required is also explained there. Then there are some systems which are kind of systems which are completely developed in our office, and you can just use them as guidepost. Meaning for the same step, okay, a guidepost meaning you can just take something which is ready-made, little bit of adaptation for your project, and then you can use them. And if a step is to be taken in a general body meeting, because I told you that society is governed, the project happens through consensual decisions which are taken in general body meetings. So if there is a step which is to be taken in general body meeting, that also is made. So every step, what it does, who does, how they do it, whether it's a milestone, what record to be created, whether there's a guidepost, what does it say, and whether the step is to be taken in a general body meeting. So this is what has been put on the website. I'll give you a small demo. I'll just take about 5 minutes or something, or maybe 10 minutes for your own benefit. So that the website is www.redevelopment.info, which you can access from your mobile also. It has a mobile version also. So when you type that, or when you visit that website, what you see here is that you see the homepage of the website. On the left hand side, you can see here that there are tabs on the top which tell you something about, like, for example, why redevelopment, how redevelopment works, roles. Okay, this may be looking too small, so I'm making this bigger. Like for example, this is one tab which is or say structured approach. How to take a structure? Okay. So redevelopment basics, redevelopment phases, structured approach, guideline 79A, structural audit, all information about them is given here. Now, if you want to use this tab, what is successful redevelopment? What are the, so you have further tabs and you can, if you click on that, what you can see complexities of redevelopment. So basic information or say opening information is given on the home page, and simultaneously, let me again go back to home page. So this is the home page for the website. Now on the left hand side, what you can see is the phase-wise journey which we just talked about. When the PMC comes on board, he first undertakes a techno-commercial study called feasibility study, which is here. Then the tendering and developer selection, then pre-construction, then construction, and then preparation. So if you click on any of these pages, you will open the home page for that phase. This is the home page for the entire website. Whereas, suppose if I open, say, the first part, feasibility study. Now what happens is that I have opened now we are in the feasibility study phase, and what you see here is the roadmap for that phase. As I said, this phase is divided into two stages: initiating project and appointing a PMC and feasibility study. So each phase may come with two or more stages. For each stage, let's say for this first stage, let me go to the second. For the first phase, this is a roadmap which gives you all the steps, the complete process of redevelopment. And in that, if I select feasibility study, what I'll do is that you see, this is the roadmap which is open for feasibility study. You can see the steps which I mentioned to you now here. This is the first step. This is the second step. This is the third step, fourth step, like that. Now, what you see here is what is the step? It tells you this is action point. Who is to take action? Particular, that is the notes. And then here you can see here in the last column here, what you find, whether this step is actually a milestone in the entire development process, whether it is. For example, this step is a milestone, this step is not a milestone. Now, whether any record is to be created or documentation is to be created. Now, if you press record here R, you will be taken to the list of records. You will be taken to the list. In fact, I'll need about 1.5 hours to just give you a full demo of that. I'm just only showing you the direction. So when you go home, you can try and look into these resources which are already available to you. Or say, this is a milestone, whether it's a milestone, what kind of record is to be prepared, or whether there is I talked about guidepost, that is ready-made standards. So this is how it goes. For example, this step, there is only guidepost. There is no milestone. Here there is a record and guidepost. So what you see here is what you are seeing here is a roadmap for that stage. And like that, there are two stages for this phase. Then there is also milestone records. Again, the same, you go, for example, guidepost. You can see these are the guideposts which are given here. For example, notes on base carpet area. Of course, you may not understand certain things here because they are in the framework of the redevelopment project. So, and of course, there is a help here which you have. What is this? Is it going? Yeah. So then the next phase, pre-construction phase, then the construction phase. Everywhere you will find that every phase has a home page. And in the home page, lots of introductory information is also given, as well as there are tabs like, for example, see here, roadmap for construction stage. Construction is such an intensive activity that for that in the roadmap you have got four stages. First is the forming systems, then developers functions, PMCs functions, societies functions. So the entire project has been very well defined through the roadmap as well as its other standards and systems. So that's how this website can help you in your own in doing your own project. You can simply refer this. This is like having the entire project standards in your pocket with in your mobile. Now there is one more thing which I want to tell you about this website. I have now I'm gone. Now I'm on the web on the homepage of the website. Remember, there's a homepage for the website, and then there are 5 homepages separately for each phase. Well, then you can see here on the right hand side below that there are videos. When we floated this website in December, after we floated in December 2024, thereafter, we conducted a series of webinars to explain how this can be done in detail. Explain each of the 14 stages in 10 webinars. So there are webinars for specific phases. There are webinars for specific, like for example, you can say this is webinar 10. There is a series of 10 webinars which explain to you the entire process of redevelopment, as well as it explains to you how this website can be used. So this is 9, website number 9, webinar number 8, like that. Okay. So these are so you feel free to use this website and use the standards, and just in case you need certain assistance or further guidance on that, you can connect with us. Now let me again go back to the presentation. Yeah, here it is. So I have shown you the website or given you a small tour of that. Now, as I said, this we have developed this website as a self-help guide, meaning you can yourself use it at your convenience for your own projects. And of course, this whole system which you are offering, that is the redevelopment info system, consisting of website, webinar series. Then there's a YouTube channel which is called Technosis Redevelopment Help. And of course, we have a group of almost 535 people, a WhatsApp group, where a lot of knowledge sharing happens by way of, say, answering questions, sharing links. And it's a group which is admin monitored. There is no crosstalk happening there. It's only that if you want to join the group, I'll give you a number at the end of this webinar. So if you wish, you can join. Or through ECI, you can connect with us and join that group. So yes, this is comprehensive resources for development PMC. We talked about that. Now this website gives you a structured approach. It's intuitive to use, user friendly, and it is free. It's a common handbook for you and your client, right? Yes, you and your client. For example, if you work for a society, together you can have the same interface. So you also know what you're doing. Your client also knows what you are doing. And if you follow that process, then I'm sure you will be moving towards a very successful project. If you follow all those steps, then maybe if you are working on a redevelopment project and if you are already at a certain stage, you have already traveled a bit and you're already at a stage, then also you can join this website or this process from anywhere where you are currently reached and cruise from there forward. This is a generic and modular website. Now see, the website, the way we have developed, of course, it has a lot of elements which are pertaining to the city of Mumbai, because a lot of redevelopment is happening in Mumbai. And lots of standards, etc., have matured in Mumbai. Okay. But if you want to use it for your city, for your DCPR, maybe you are doing a project in Pune, maybe you are doing a project in Delhi, and you need standards. What you can do is that you can use the same website, but those points which pertain to the DCPR will be different. So you can use it in a generic and modular manner, bring in what belongs to your society into the website, and follow the process which is given in the website. Well, this is a self-help guide in your mobile. So this brings me to the end of this session. I'm open to questions. How do we take them? Hello? Yeah. Hello? Are there any questions?
No, sir.
Yogaraj?
हेलो जी सर
Stop sharing. Yogaraj?
सर क्या किसी के कोई सवाल हैं अगर कोई सवाल हैं तो सवाल कर सकते हैं और उसका आंसर देंगे गार्गल के साथ
हाँ सर, मेरा एक छोटा
I
सा
don't
सवाल है इस
get the
टॉपिक को लेकर।
questions. Can someone help me?
हेलो, आवाज आ रही है सर?
Yes, thank you.
हाँ सर, एक छोटा सा मेरा क्वेश्चन था, जैसे ये जो पीएमसी वाला आपने अभी बताया, तो एज ए सिविल
How many
इंजीनियर
of you are from Mumbai? If you can raise your hands. So, how to take questions? Are you putting those questions on chat box? Chat putting?
सर, एम आई ऑडिबल?
Yeah, we can hear you. Um, if you want to type your questions on the chat box, I'll take them.
सर, मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Okay, I will share with you. Let me share with you some phone numbers and WhatsApp numbers, just in case you want to connect with us and say maybe ask more this, no? अच्छा, शेयर कर सकता है इतना ना शेयर शेयर स्क्रीन है ना स्क्रीन हो जाए ले ले चाहते थे है ना You can note down these numbers if you want. हाँ ऐसा है ना 93 WhatsApp group से ना The first number 9326530936 is on WhatsApp and you can if you wish to join that WhatsApp group, which there are already 535 people. So please send a message there and we'll admit you to that group.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think chat नहीं जाते. Hmm? So I think let's sign off. If you have any questions, please send us and we will answer them in the group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for a
Thank you very
wonderful
much for being
presentation.
with us. I hope you
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much,
um,
Rajesh here. Thank you, sir.
you have understood something about redevelopment and you are motivated to take up projects in your city. There are, believe me, a lot of projects are going to come in every single city. In Mumbai ourselves, we got thousands of them. Thank you so much. I'll sign off now. Go, no?